Hey, everybody, welcome to How To Tuesday this week. We're talking about maintaining our most important investment, our boat. And one of the things that we've done to protect our boat from corrosion for a long time, it's an industry standard, it's been on boats forever, it's a zinc. Now, I want to find out exactly what this zinc is doing. And for new boaters, you may get a boat and there may be this thing that looks like it's really degraded, which it is. Is it time to replace it? When is it time to replace it? And what is that zinc actually doing? I've got the man that has all the answers here, Zach McAllister from Salt's Gone. He knows a lot about chemical reactions, what salt does, and what's going on with corrosion. Zach, what is a zinc doing for us in the simplest terms?
Man, a zinc is sacrificing itself so that our boat can last a little bit longer. But that's the part that we probably all mostly know, right?
Yeah, you kind of, I mean, that's like the understood thing. Oh, you got to have zincs. But what is it doing? And I've always kind of wondered, and maybe it's a stupid question, but your boat's sitting in the ocean. It's sitting in salt water. And you've got these zincs under the waterline, and they are obviously working because they are getting degraded and the rest of the metal doesn't seem to be getting degraded. But if everything is sitting in salt water and it's all connected, so it's a grounded system, I would imagine, why is the salt only attacking that zinc? And if you have that zinc, how is it protecting the other metal parts? Like the most expensive ones, our motors, our, the things that we're really, really concerned about.
Sure. So one of the important things to know is that water carries electricity,
yep.
Right? You're sitting in the bathtub, you drop the hair dryer in it, you're done, right?
Yeah.
So water carries electricity. And, we've talked about how, what salt is doing, right, is it is pulling electrons.
Mm-hmm.
And so different materials have different amounts of free electrons in them, easy to get electrons. So carbon steel has, more than stainless steel or aluminum or what have you not. Mm-hmm. Well, zinc is like absolutely full of these free electrons. And so the reason that they're put on boats is so that, really the salt has access to all of these super easy to obtain free electrons. And so your zincs look gnarly because they're meant to look gnarly, mm-hmm. Right? That means they're working. If they stop looking gnarly, then they're not there anymore. And it's time to replace them. But so they're put on things like your motor, for instance, right? Because you've got a lot of different mixed metals. It's heavily exposed to the salt. And, it wants to have something to sacrifice before some of those critical components on the motor itself. So if the zincs aren't there, the exact same chemistry is taking place, the same salt, the same electron pull, the same corrosion. It just doesn't have anything to sacrifice. So the idea of zincs, and it's been around for a long time, right? This was something I couldn't tell you exactly when it was discovered, but it wasn't, 2022,
right.
And so they've been around for a long time because they work, right? They're effective. But you might have those experiences with them where, if let's say you got a boat that's always in the water, you got a big sport fish, and man, you're just parked next to the live-aboard sailboat that, really it's not really seaworthy. They haven't done any maintenance to it. And you're like, man, I am just blowing through zincs, right? Well, that's because, that water carries that electricity, right? That electrolysis happens. And so your zincs are giving protection to that other boat, right? Your zincs have to work twice as hard. And it's kind of one of everybody's pet peeves, about zincs is, man, I feel like I'm replacing them all the time because the boats around me, aren't. Well, it's noticeable, right? It's really going to cut down on the life of those. because that water transfers so easily. So if you find that happening to you, it's always good to have a conversation with the other guy. Because if everybody had zincs, yeah, they would last a lot longer. But or if you ever go in somewhere and realize that hey, man, my zincs feel like they're disappearing more quickly, that's just the simple culprit for them.
What kind of distance are you talking about that it would be pulling on your zincs like that? Is it 20 feet, 50 feet, 100 feet?
Man, well, so it kind of depends on how big your zincs are, right? So the bigger boats have bigger zincs on them, but I would say easily, even with a smaller boat, the boat next to you is going to affect the performance of your zincs.
Interesting. Wow. And so that's, if you're the nicest boat in the marina, you're probably giving everyone a little protection. If you're the worst,
you're a contributing member.
If you're the worst boat in the marina, you want to sit right next to the best boat in the marina. So
you will suck and dry.
Yep. I gotcha. That's very interesting. So does zincs do anything if they're above the water line? Would that have any effect on corrosion?
In theory, they're going to do something, right? Really the idea behind, and why you find zinc kind of under the water line is because it is using water as that catalyst to kind of manage that conductivity. When it's above the water line, usually like zincs are going to be butted up to like plastic pieces or kind of a really targeted area or held up against something that's fiberglass. Where, when it doesn't have the water to conduct that, you're really not going to get a lot of performance out of it. Zincs are more commonly used above the water line in performance coatings like an epoxy. Where you would have, if we were to transition out of the, maybe recreational fishing world and look at a more industrial piece of equipment, a lot of times, like let's say items on like an offshore oil platform, right? Where they're sitting up on a deck, they're well up out of the water. They're going to be zinc coated with epoxy, right? So the zinc flakes are ground down, they're put into the epoxy itself, and it's spread out all across a project. So instead of one concentrated area like we're used to having zinc on a boat, now the entire thing has zinc coated in it. And those are unbelievably effective coatings.
Really? Wow. And that's inside the epoxy. So the salt can actually get inside the epoxy and suck out those electrons from the zinc chips.
So basically as the salt is landing on it, the entire coating acts as that zinc, right? So instead of having the zinc on just one little part of your motor or your boat, imagine this entire structure is now covered in zinc.
Wow.
It would be no different than if you were somehow able to dip it in zinc, right? But instead, we're going to use an afterwards coating, right? The piece is fabricated, it's manufactured, and now they're going to coat it or recoat it in a zinc-rich epoxy in order to get that performance out of it. They're used under the water as well, but, a lot of times they're used over the water. When something's out of the water, because that entire piece now is coated in zinc.
Very interesting. Very interesting. All right. So if your zincs are looking gnarly, it's time to replace them. Is that right?
Bottom line. Yeah.
and then,
keep putting new ones on.
But if you got anything left, it's better than nothing at all.
This is true, but just keep on replacing them. It's doing something. If they're disappearing, they're working.
Got it. All right. That's a little 101 about zincs. So if you got any questions, I'm sure you could get in touch with Zach at Salt's Gone. If they wanted to get your product, what do they do?
Just head over to saltsgone.com, or you can give Jeff Bezos a little love on Amazon as well.
Right on. All right. That's it for How To Tuesday this week. Take care of your boat. It's your most important investment, and we'll see you next week.